Somebody's gonna get out. What do you think? Yes or no? Yes or no? I say yes.
All right, I'll go with it.
Oh. Damn it. So right now we're in a house on the border of Woodhaven and Richmond Hill in Queens, right off 104th and Jamaica Avenue. And this buyer came to me in the most unique of ways, and this is the return of social media. She did a Google search for New York real estate podcast, and because I podcast a lot of my content and I have a separate podcast talking about people who make things in New York, she then found me on Instagram. About 2-3 weeks after we first connected on Instagram, she DMs me and says, "Hey Mike, I'm looking to buy a house. Can you help me?" Fast forward 2.5 months, and we're about to close on this one right here. So now this is a neighborhood that a lot of people may not have heard of yet because honestly, there's no gentrification that's gone on here. But the reality is my client is able to now buy a 2-family with a rent producing income that offsets a significant portion of her mortgage. So deep into Queens, there's a different listing system than Manhattan and commissions just tend to be a lot lower. So even though on this deal there wasn't a lot of money to be made, there will be the additional commission on the 2nd floor apartment, which honestly I think will rent before we put it on the market. Now, I'm gonna go take you around and show you some inside stuff in Queens. When I was a kid, I actually spent a lot of time on this street right here. This is Jamaica Avenue. So I went to school, elementary school, on the other side of Queens in South Ozone Park. And I grew up in Regal Park. And the reason I went to the whole other side of Queens was I got accepted into a gifted program. And that's where there was a seat. So I was one of maybe 10 white kids in the whole school. It was predominantly African American. And I believe that that's a huge part of why I can be as diverse as I am. You know, I think it's part of the reason I love hip hop and reggae, and I think it, you know, was a huge influence in shaping me in my, you know, very formative years. But I'll never forget, because I used to, my mother, who didn't work from the time I was born until I was about 11, used to drop me at the bus right up the block, and then I would take a bus an hour all around Queens to then get to school.
What are some of your favorite hip hop and reggae artists?
So hip hop, I'm very much like a late 90s, early 2000s. I love Big, I love Nas, very New York. I love Jay. In what would be the more modern day, I love Jadakiss. Modern day, I would say maybe like a J. Cole. Actually been very impressed by some of the freestyles I've seen from Juice WRLD, which is shocking to me because that first song just really would have not made me believe that he had the ability to freestyle for an hour. So in my life, I've only broken or fractured, well, a bone twice, right? Once was, is this guy gonna drive today? Once was as an adult. I severely fractured my ankle as I was training for the marathon, but that's my fault for being a fat guy trying to run a marathon. So the only other time I broke a bone, I actually never broke anything, it was a fracture. I fractured my elbow as a kid playing in this park right up here. We'll go into the Park of Doom and see if the Park of Doom wins. So I haven't confronted my childhood fears. So we're gonna go back to the park. I better not break my arm again. Ah! I wanna tell my wife and son that I love them dearly, and to all of my followers, I'm sorry I won't be able to make any more content. somebody's got a pit. Maybe that's how I die.
Looks like a pretty cute dog.
It does, but you never know. These are not the offending gym park equipment that so violently fractured my elbow.
How did it go down exactly?
So there were like these hanging bars, and I was like going across, and then I went shh. We could probably find a video on the internet, and we'll like pop it in over here.
Woo!
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, let's see. So far, I'm good. Uh-oh. I don't think this is how you're supposed to do this stuff.
You're gonna go for this?
I'm gonna go for this. I am fucking psycho. I mean, this is the only way to test whether or not this park is cursed, right?
That's true.
I think I made it. Ah! All right, I didn't die.
Good job.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. This was one of the hardest things. Like 2 minutes? After you, fine sir.
Thank you. This door.
It's all right. Here right now. And this also all used to be like one lot that was like a wholesale florist area, like I remember as a kid. This is only in the last 4 years. I believe this whole, yeah, come here, you can see it. This whole thing is the amenity package. We'll check it out. You see the basketball court. You can see two indoor pool and an outdoor pool, a gym. Maybe we'll get on some treadmills today.
Mike, do you want to play here real quick?
Yes. You ready?
Yeah. Wait, which one am I, which one are you? I'll be grab.
Yeah. Well, actually, they're both grabs.
Like high tech.
Oh, God. That's it. It's over. I'm the champion.
He won.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Oh, what?
How far do you think I can hit a 5-iron?
Is this real?
Yeah, 100%. I've never been in a 5-story amenity building.
That's great.
I would just stay here. I wouldn't go back to my apartment.
Welcome to our fitness level.
Nah. All right, I'm gonna burn 6 calories. That's my goal. All right. Whew. Oh. Yeah. It only took me 46 seconds. But I burned 7 calories. I need a snack. All right, let's go see the rest of the building. Oh, that's all. You know, all too often people write off millennials.
What's the biggest difference you notice in millennials?
They haven't been punched in the mouth enough to understand that not everything is black and white. And that a lot of the times, most of life and progression happens in the gray.
What do you think a hardworking millennial needs to do to be successful?
Find someone they believe in and go work for them until you've learned enough from them to go work for yourself.
And then pay it forward.
Of course, 1,000,000%.